The Hand of Brass. Episode 8. Prohibere ad Nuptias. Cromwell and Brannock moved swiftly through the hallways of the castle, followed by a trio of knights. It was the morning after the incident in the dining hall.
And you're sure you wish to do this? You do remember who her father was?
My question to you is, do you remember who he was? He was once a fair king. He must have been twisted by the Alamandian mirror. This gift was nothing more than a bewitched trap to cause chaos in Berenia.
To what end, I wonder? Take us out and you still have Attalus to worry about, and their forces have become much greater since the signing of the treaties.
I'm not sure, but it would seem the wine they sent was to potentially further this nefarious plan of theirs. I am decided on this, Brannock. I will abdicate the throne to Princess Diala. She can rule a kingdom far better than a horse farmer.
Do you really expect our people to feel the same way? The nation has already been divided on us not beheading her and ending the tyrant's line.
Your Highness, it is Cromwell. May we speak? I have a proposition for... Adon's breath.
There had clearly been a struggle in the princess's chamber. The table and wardrobe were toppled. A small spatter of blood stained the wall, along with a blood-stained letter opener on the floor. The shutters had been torn down, leaving the window wide open. Cromwell looked to the trio of knights.
Sir Rick, Sir Ben, Dame Michelle, alert the royal guard immediately.
Yes, Your Highness.
Cromwell, look here. What do you make of this?
Brannock walked to Cromwell and handed him an eagle mask.
Baron Duval.
Elric, Selene, and Duncan were sitting in the royal study. Selene was reading a book titled Ode to Mowgli, the idiot orc sorcerer savant, and Elric was looking out the window onto the courtyard garden below. He saw many beautiful flowers that reminded him of home, or what was once home. Peonies and blue daisies. He felt his heart ache. A poor joke lingered in the back of his mind.
Elders have always said time flies by when you least expect it. I don't think this is what they meant, though.
A dwarven woman walking in past the sunflowers caught his eye. Odd. He'd thought himself the only dwarf in the castle. Before he could get a better look at her, the study door burst open, and in rushed Cromwell and Brannock.
There is a dire situation. We need your help.
What? Why us?
I do not have time to explain it all, but know this. Princess Diala has been kidnapped by a bastard of an orc named Baron Duval. We believe he plans to marry her in order to gain rights to challenge the throne. Will you help us? We do not have time to round up a rescue party, and you three seem more than capable.
We have to stop a wedding?
All the would-be wedding stoppers Duncan had routed flashed before his eyes.
You're joking, right?
Judging by the look on Cromwell's face, he was not.
Have you fast horses?
The swiftest.
Normally, I'm the kind to think through every scenario, but I feel time is of the essence, gentlemen. Elric, fetch your axe! It's time for us to rescue a princess.
They rode swiftly, Cromwell leading the party, followed closely by Duncan, Selene, Brannock, and Elric bringing up the rear on a fast pony. Cromwell led them to an immaculate cathedral on Baron Duval's land. Something caught Duncan's attention.
Everyone continue heading for the entrance. Kick down the door and go for a full frontal assault.
What? Are you mad? To do so would be a suicide mission.
You'll have to trust me on this. I've been a best man for at least 100 weddings this year alone. Go to the front door and kick it in. But be wary, he may have more than just guards there. I feel there will be a best man or two in the midst.
But wouldn't we need you then? Fight best man with a better man?
Selene is right. We could use all the help we can get.
Time is of the essence. I'll meet you there. Kick the door in and stop the wedding. Oh, and don't forget to yell I object.
I think I know what he's planning. I like this man's style.
Two large orcs stood guarding the door to the cathedral. Their untarnished armor suggested that they were dutiful polishers, and so skilled in combat that no opponent had ever landed a single blow. Or possibly that they were new to the job.
Now, what I don't understand, perhaps you could fill me in, Tim. Is it typical of Berenian tradition to have the bride all trussed up like she was?
Nope. Can't say that it is. Nope. I've seen some elaborate corsets, but nothing the like of all that rope.
You sure? I know I'm a little new here, and I'm not one to shy away from lands customs that aren't my own. I'm very open and go with the flow, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, of course. I can see, as you don't want to come off as arrogant walking into another country and not know the customs. That's just rude. It is.
But what I'm wondering... sorry, excuse me, horse riders. Don't come in here. This is private.
Stand aside. Uh-oh.
My lord and lordesses,
Todd,
I apologize, but I don't believe
Todd,
you're on the guest
Todd,
list.
Todd,
Tim is very
Todd,
rude to interrupt.
That's the king right there.
Wait, what?
That's the king.
Oh, you're right. Terribly sorry, your highness. Tim and I will be on our way in 2 shakes. Say, Tim, I told you the bride being all tied up wasn't right. Let's get a move on.
That was... I think they were new here.
Well, I suppose we're on the guest list now.
Elric rushed ahead of the group, and with his mighty metal leg he kicked open the door, startling a small procession of armed guards, Baron Duval, and the princess.
I object! Now, we aren't at that part yet, so you'll have to take a seat and wait a moment.
Duncan was right. You really do marry everyone.
Count Hogan! We meet again.
He still thinks you're Count Hogan. See? I told you the disguise was good.
You're outnumbered, Count Hogan. I hope you've enjoyed your last days on the throne.
The guards drew their swords and advanced on the intruders as Baron Duval grabbed the princess and ran through a door on the eastern side of the room, a handful of best men trailing close behind. Blades clashed as Elric, Cromwell, and Brannock dueled fiercely. Selene saw 2 men attempting to charge from the side upon an already overwhelmed Elric. She unleashed Silver Chain, whipping across a guard's face, slashing at his eyes and incapacitating him, before taking aim at the other and releasing a wave of concussive energy, sending him flying backward into a pew. As Selene raised her chain to attack another, a separate chain, tarnished and dark, wrapped around her wrists and pulled her down with a force that almost toppled her to the floor. She turned to see a dark-haired woman in a white tunic, wielding a similar weapon to her own. Before she could react and cast a spell, the woman was upon her, pointing a dagger directly at Selene's throat. The woman looked Selene in the eye, and her lips curled into a cocky smile. Her dagger glided down, clipping Selene's collar, cutting loose the crystal pendant that she wore. It fell to the floor, and the woman promptly stomped on it, shattering it into 1,000 pieces. The woman then punched Selene in the stomach, hard, bringing her to her knees.
What kind of best man are you?
As if I would join an old boys club. Natalia, maid of honor at your service. Now that your power is in check, how about you call off your boys before I finish you and them off?
I thought maids of honor were a myth. Please, you don't have to do this. You must understand that Baron Duval is taking the princess against her will.
It's not in my contract to ask questions. I'm going to request one more time that you end this before I kill you. It would be a real waste.
Selene had to think quickly. Her crystal pendant had been used to channel her magical attacks, and without it she could only conjure lesser magics. Suddenly, the door to the east that Baron Duval had escaped through burst open, and a man came flying through it backward. Moments earlier, Baron Duval, with the princess and best men in tow, climbed up an immense set of stone stairs to a tower that stood behind the cathedral.
Guard the door and kill anyone you see.
Duval entered what was traditionally the head priest's chamber. The room was adorned with symbols of the Watcher, desks under pages of holy texts, and a fireplace. On the far side of the room was a set of opened curtains, revealing 2 open glass doors to a terrace that overlooked the forest.
You do realize this would never work, Baron Duval.
Oh? And how so? By Berenian law, since we are wed, I will be able to contest the rights to the throne. Since the peasant king is here, I'm sure my men have already killed him. And since he has no heirs, I become king.
Yes, but the ceremony was not complete. Thus, you're not eligible for the throne. Only I am. And since the peasant king is here already, the kingdom must be aware of what is going on, and must therefore be mustering forces in case the king is unsuccessful in this mission.
Duval had been routed there. He paced the room in frustration, but then paused for a moment.
Well, if you are indeed the only ruler, then by another more archaic Berenian law, if I slay you, I have rights to seize the throne, just as the peasant king did to your father.
Duval drew his sword and walked slowly toward Princess Diala. He'd come this far. Nothing was going to deter him from...
By Malmus, what is that scraping?
A final clank of metal on stone drew his attention to the balcony, As a brass hand popped up into view, it scrabbled for purchase on the railing before a flushed face with a bristling mustache slowly rose up behind it.
Baron Duval, I hereby command to release the princess immediately. Whew, Watcher's mercy.
How on earth did you know we were up here?
I'm a best man. I know all the tricks.
Well then, sir, best be ready, because I am a swordsman not to be trifled with.
Thank you, Sir Knight, for your assistance.
I'm not a knight, but I am here to get you out. This is a much harder climb than it looks.
Duncan set about untying the princess's bindings before moving to the door to peer through the keyhole.
Shit. Your Highness, how skilled are you with the sword?
Royalty is trained from a young age in swordplay.
Good. Here, take Baron Duval's sword. I got myself up here, but I can't get us down alone. Ready?
Princess Diala nodded, readying her sword. Duncan slowly opened the door and saw 6 best men, 2 side by side in front of the door, and another 4 down the hall by the stairs. Duncan snuck up behind the closest best man to the left and kicked him in the back of the knee, knocking him off balance. Duncan pivoted, slashing the best man to the right across his arm, cutting deep and disarming him of his sword, then plunging the tip of his blade into the jugular of the tripped man. Jerking back, Duncan freed his sword with a sickening gurgle and slammed the pommel into the temple of the best man on his right. The remaining 4 best men stared in shock for a moment before simultaneously drawing their swords in an eerie harmony of steel. Princess Diala then rushed forward with Duncan hurrying behind as the dance of blades commenced. Duncan and the princess were almost in sync as they fought their way down the stairs, brushing back the 4 expert swordsmen. One of the best men, a well-built orc with a goatee, attacked high. As the princess deflected the blow, using all her might, she thrust her blade into his stomach and kicked him down the stairs. He fell into another, sending them both down the stone steps into their deaths. They fought the remaining enemies down to the landing. Duncan side parried a best man's blade, swiftly disarming him of his sword, sending it flying out of reach. The man then punched Duncan in the jaw, stunning him. The best man grabbed Duncan, and with his immense strength, tossed him through a set of doors that led into the main cathedral. Landing hard in the middle of the room, Duncan looked up in a daze to see Celine on the ground with Natalia standing over her. They were looking at him in confusion over his grand entrance. He then saw Cromwell grab a pew, and with all of his orc strength he tossed it, smashing into Natalia, sending her sailing through a stained glass window.
Was that a maid of honor? Funny. Most people think they're a myth.
The best man who'd thrown Duncan, now reunited with his sword, swept over to deliver a finishing blow, but was suddenly interrupted by an axe to the gut.
Come on, Duncan. Back on your feet.
As Elric tried to lift Duncan up, he felt something pierce his chest. A crossbow bolt. Elric collapsed.
Elric!
Elric's vision blurred. His breathing became labored. Did it pierce his lungs, he wondered? His field physician training kicked in, narrating to himself every step of how to deal with such a wound, but he could not get the words out to instruct anyone. He felt himself being lifted by Duncan. Fading in and out, he saw them leaving the cathedral.
Is there someone we can take Elric to? He's fading fast. Judging by where the bolt is, he won't have long.
We must take him to Raven. She's the best physician in the kingdom. Rest assured. Elric is in good hands.
When Elric next awoke, he was lying in a bed, in a simple yet elegant room. He must have blacked out. His shoulder and chest hurt. He tried to get up.
Take it easy. You took a rather nasty hit. No using your left arm for a little while. And no swinging axes. Understood?
Of course. Thank you, miss. I must say I wasn't expecting a dwarf to be taking care of me here.
If you can do the job, what does it matter what you are? It's the way it should be.
I agree. What is your name, miss?
You can call me Raven.
No, I mean what is your Humerian name? It may be the pain in my shoulder talking, but you seem almost familiar. No dwarf I ever met is named Raven.
I lived in Humeria a long time ago, but changed my name to Raven when fleeing the Orsilians. My name is Erica Stormshield.
Hey there, thanks for listening. If you really enjoyed what you heard, leave a rate and review. And keep up to date with us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Hand of Brass. And if you want to support us further, check out our Patreon. You can get exclusive access to bonus footage, behind the scenes, interviews, and more. Thanks again for listening.